Bryan, I want to thank you for being in D.C. Today. Appreciate you testifying before the subcommittee on the use of drones and the important role that that plays, national security, border security, emergency response. Your testimony was invaluable. I know you serve currently as a director of the Raspet Flight Center there at Mississippi State University. So for those people who may not be aware of the Raspet Flight Center, can you talk a little bit about what y'all do and some of the work that you're doing, particularly on the behalf of the Department of Homeland Security?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and thank you for inviting us up, or me up. I was very happy to be able to provide testimony and talk about the work we do and such an important issue. Border security, emergency response, and our efforts at the lab. Raspet's been around for 75 years, heavily steeped in aerospace research and development. First all-composite aircraft was made at Raspet in the 50s, first all-composite corporate jet through a collaboration with Honda in the 80s and 90s, and really the last 15 to 20 years we've been focused on UAS. It's the next frontier in aviation, autonomy, the tooling and capability of a UAS to really revolutionize so many different industries and fields and security. So a large part of our portfolio these days is really around the enabling capabilities of a UAS. Mississippi State is the chair for the Center of Excellence for the FAA, the Assure program. We have 32 universities. Raspet acts as a key integrator of that research for the FAA. So that research portfolio really focuses on the role UAS can play for industries, the ways that we can understand the technology to integrate into the national airspace, and what those strategies are. So taking that research portfolio and understanding the domestic airspace issues, understanding manned aircraft, and to ensure safety, we also added the DHS Common UAS test site. So back in 2016, we were awarded the test site. Now in its fourth iteration as Project Justice, the Joint Unmanned Systems Testing in a Collaborative Environment, which really means what we do is we leverage our S&T project to be able to work with the components, work with the Airland Ports of Entry Program Manager to understand ways that UAS can benefit DHS. And that can be everything from testing and evaluating commercially available systems in order to find the truth, to find the best way to integrate the technology, to understand the pitfalls and challenges of the technology, to understand how to protect the data or ways to better leverage the data or sensors. It can be custom developments of drones. You know, the UAS marketplace right now is still, I would say, in its infancy in developing, so the commercial marketplace may not have a developed solution for DHS, and so we can step in, integrate different technologies, make sure it's compliant with the NDAA requirements, and then deliver a prototype and or develop several UAS to deliver to the customer.
I've had the chance to visit your facility on several occasions, see some of the great work that you're doing and the work you're doing on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security. Again, I know that the important role that UASs, that drones play in law enforcement. Again, everything from they serve as a force multiplier by allowing us to conduct surveillance over large areas of kind of remote territory. They assist in rescue operations. They assist in drug interdiction by providing crucial intelligence. And I know that y'all have played a role in that. Actually saw when I was there a small drone that y'all had made that could be deployed there in the field for individuals who were going out on what I would call high-risk warrant maneuvers to give them that initial intelligence. And so y'all actually have built drones there and tested drones that have been built elsewhere and then give that feedback to DHS to help them with their procurement. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. So we've both built drones, we've evaluated drones, and a current program that we're really quite excited about and one that is definitely needed in DHS and across the whole of government is the DHS Gold program. That's our current name for it. And that's really to set up the evaluation criteria for NDAA compliance to understand vectors of leakage of data, to be able to allow the components to procure aircraft that currently aren't on that DoD Blue list. And so that's a great program. It's a collaboration with industry. It's a collaboration through S&T and AMIO to really push the needle in DHS taking a step forward in its own processes to be able to control what it can and can't purchase.
And tell us about Terrace.
Absolutely. So Terrace is our newest aircraft. It's the largest aircraft in all of academia. 44-foot wingspan, 1,800-pound gross takeoff weight. But the really impressive part is you get 24 hours of endurance with that aircraft. You can carry 400 pounds of payload. So we talk about ISR, border-type missions. We could test different sensors, test different data management pathways, satellite communications. When we talk about FEMA and disaster response, we can talk about communications in degraded environments. We can talk about live video feeds. The Terrace was actually procured as a part of a SOCOM project where we were actually looking at communications in degraded environments, so being able to give a forward operating force two-way communications to get information in and out of the front lines. So that platform has really revolutionized what we think of as the capabilities of UAS, coming from more of your quadcopter, looking at what the DoD is doing with those, and then bringing it into a domestic use case, a domestic enabling technology, understanding how it can integrate in the national airspace and support groups like CBP or FEMA.
And y'all recently deployed Terrace to do some hurricane damage assessment. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So we deployed for Debbie, and then more recently than that, we deployed for Helene. As you know, Helene was a very impactful storm. We actually were anticipating deploying to Tallahassee because that's where all of the tracks were going. And so we had to mitigate really quickly, get into Georgia. So we actually flew in Georgia, flew a lot of damage assessment in Georgia, distributed video. We were looking at critical infrastructure, ingress, egress, as well as an ability to kind of turn around and look at some other contributing things like fires that had occurred because of the collateral damage. So that project is really showcasing the capability of the UAS. We're still working with FEMA, still working with other federal stakeholders, looking at better ways to respond, better ways to distribute data, even processing some of that imagery at the edge to be able to do some data analytics real time. When you have 400 pounds of payload, I can have a high performance computer on the drone doing that work as we're in flight. So really pushing.
And a lot of the data that you collected, it was being sent back real time. And so your partners were able to look at the data, the images that were collected, and some of that was being viewed real time at the White House. Is that correct?
It is, yes. So in our distribution to FEMA, to the state and local responders, to HQ, as well as other stakeholders, we were informed that the White House was viewing the feed for their own damage assessment to understand things like authorizations. We also were notified that groups like NORAD were taking a look at it as well and understanding how it can assist in that sort of situation as well.
Well, Bryan, I just want to thank you as a proud Mississippi State grad. It was great to have you here in Washington, D.C. today, to have you testify before the Homeland Security Committee about something very important that's happening in our state, in Starkville, as it relates to us being able to better protect our borders, to provide the men and women at the Department of Homeland Security the resources that they need to do a very dangerous mission. And so personally just want to thank you for being here and for all the hard work for the men and women at the Raspet Flight Center, that what you do for our country.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and we look forward to serving the state of Mississippi as well as the Department of Homeland Security and our American citizens.
Thank you.